Beautiful. Thanks.
This is the time of year when we recognize everyone, and we just get together and celebrate the holidays and celebrate the fact that we own this wonderful building, and so much has happened with it in the last year. I encourage everybody to walk around the place if they haven't been here in a while or not been here at all, and check out our new Hall of Fame room in the back, and our control room, and the television display, and the ham shack downstairs. We've really done a lot in the last year, and we're very proud of it. So I'm going to yak some more later, but without further ado, we're going to introduce Mr. John Stuart, who has played a major part in the restoration of our NBC Chime machine here, as well as John Staples. So I'll turn it over to John Stuart for a while.
Okay. All right. Good. So most of you will remember that last year, 2018, we received a donation of this chime machine, and it was about a year ago. John Staples and I drug it out of behind the shed here and got it to work in the shop. So this 5-minute video, I'm going to show that first because it reviews all of the history that we had done at that time about where it came from, how it works, and this video is really the first time we made it work on the bench. So let's run that video first, then I'll follow up with a bunch of quick pictures of the conservation and restoration process, preparing it for display. So we're going to start the video.
On your room. Go up right down the middle and see if it's any table.
I'm John Stewart. I'm here at the California Historical Radio Society radio shop, and we have one of our new items. It's one of the historic NBC Chime machines made by a company called Ranger Tone, who was in the business of making early electronic organs. We have serial number 2, which was originally in operation at the NBC studios in San Francisco. I think at 3 different locations as they moved. Starting in 1931-32 is when this went into service. I'm going to pull the cover off now so we can see the inside. And you'll see the cam mechanism. So this is like a large 50-pound music box, but it plays only 3 notes. And that would be the NBC chimes, which you'll hear in a second. So here's a drum here with some fingers on it. In the back there are sets of combs, like a music box, and it'll strike those 3 as this drum rolls around. On the bottom there's a vacuum tube amplifier, and we'll swing the box around and look at the back where you can see the little music box combs with the vibrating fingers. To demonstrate how this operates, I will turn on the motor, which should be done by an announcer. So you can see the fingers rotating around. The cycle takes about 2 or 3 seconds, and then normally the system will just shut off after 1 cycle, so you'd only hear the NBC chimes once. This is the drive motor that has a gearbox that turns that drum. You notice that the sensors are all underneath this metal shield for prevent the electrical 60 hertz hum from getting into the sensors. So I'll pull this off, and now you can see down inside of here the 3 music box-like cones. Each of these have 8 fingers. This particular unit has a few fingers that are broken off. But the really interesting thing, these little tiny cones, which normally go ping, have been set up to make the nicer notes by adding lead weights at the tips of the fingers. So if the analogy is your fingers would be underneath the fingers, there'd be a little hunk of solder, and that was allow them to easily tune each of the fingers so they would vibrate at just the right pitch.
This is the, again, this is the iCloud way to do a slideshow. Thank you. Where are we going to put it?
Pardon me?
Where will we put it?
This lives, it's going to live as a featured exhibit in the Hall of Fame room in the back with the rest of the radio station. Thank you, John.
Sure.
And you did a great job on that. Thank you, Mr. Staples. Now it's my turn. I get to talk again, so bear with me. And a couple of things I want to talk about. First of all, I mentioned before the work we've done on the place. Be sure to walk around and check it all out. December 14th, our youngest member is having a birthday today. So, Chris Chapman, happy birthday to you. Woo! How many years?
16.
16. So he's been driving, and he's been coming here and doing a lot of good volunteer work. I'm going to start in the back of, and what I like to do at this time of year is sort of recognize people for what they've done. And way back there is our treasurer, Richard Watts, our journal editor, and Richard does a wonderful job for us. He's turned the journal into a must-have publication where some years ago the journal fell into disrepair and we didn't have one for many years. But we get a great one now every 6 months, and Richard really lays up a very nice copy. Behind him is Steve Garaventa. And Steve found us by coming to one of the Society of Broadcast Engineers meetings that we had here a couple of years ago, which we're going to have again this afternoon. Steve has recently retired from KPIX. He's one of our good volunteers who is here almost every weekend and helps us out in any way possible. I'm looking in the back. I see Cliff Farwell, who is another one of our volunteers, great volunteers. He does carpentry work. He does whatever he can for us, and he does a good job of it, and he's recovering from a shoulder injury now, so we hope we'll see him later. Over the past couple of days, he restored the 2 vintage KRE light fixtures that we have back in the control room.
Put them back up.
Put them on, they're back up. Then I'm looking at Walter Hayden here. He does everything. He does some of the fine building and carpentry that happens around here. He and Robert Schwartz have done a great job of working on the shop, of working on the drainage system, of working on the shelving units in the building. They just do a wonderful job.
The antenna.
And the antenna that he got up for Denny. So they do fine work, and we couldn't do without Walter. Next to him is Jimmy Fink, a local, and Jimmy's here every week, and he's at our bench, and he does a great job of doing repair for us. Thank you, Jimmy. Then I see Joe Aruba.
Joe? Yes.
Yeah. Joe is also one of our volunteers that has been helping us out a great deal. And whatever we need, Joe is a sort of a do-it-all guy. And we see Bob Rizowski?
Radzewski.
Yeah, there we go, I'll let you say it. And Bob is another one of our volunteers who does a great job, sort of as an assistant archivist to Bart, and he works in the library, and he does a lot of the important historical work that we are doing more and more of. So thank you, Bob. Then there's Hill Hampton, who comes in here every couple of weeks, and Hill is another one of those Renaissance guys who does basically anything we ask him to do around here, and he does a fine job of it. Then at the front table here we have John Winchell, who is one of our great donors, and next to him is Jaime Arbona, who is our secretary and helps us in ways that I can't go into because, you know, he takes our phone messages for us. He just does all those little things that help the organization move along. He's also one of the contact people when we get new donations in. So thank you, Jaime. Next to him is Gilles Renaud, and Gilles was for quite a while the master of the tubes. but he has passed the mantle on to Kent Leach, who I don't see here quite yet. And Gilles, along with John Staples, has been working very diligently, and others have been working very, very diligently in putting our television exhibit together. And we probably have one of the finest television exhibits of antique TVs anywhere. And if you go downstairs, pretty much 95% of them are running and making pictures. So thank you, Gilles, and thank you, Gilles, for your donations. And we couldn't, you know, we can't get along. Some of these guys we just can't get along without. You're another one. Dave Bellici, who comes and volunteers for us, and what he does for us that's real important is taking our videos for us and documenting everything we do, whether it be here at a CHRS event or whether it be at a Legends meeting. Dave is always here taking the video, getting it up for us. He's also been working on a transmitter kit that hopefully we'll be teaching our students to build, and Dave has been very helpful to us. John Stuart not only has worked on this, but John Stuart is our resident engineer, and he's done for us not only this, but he has done the security system in the building, the camera systems in the building, the fire system in the building, and almost anything else and building engineering oriented John does for us. Thank you, John. Over here, Scott Robinson, our vice president, is here generally every week and works on gear for us and does whatever we need him to do and sort of runs the shop for us. John Staples works on TV, he works on broadcast equipment, he does some on ham radio equipment, and is one of our technicians that we cannot do without. Behind him is Denny Monticelli, who does everything. I haven't got back there yet. I'm getting around. Okay. The eyes can only go one place. Denny is basically taking over our ham radio operation. He is responsible for our outside sales operations. And anything else we need him to do. He does a great job. He's managed a lot of the things that were unmanageable, like the amount of consoles we have, and that ham station is really something to be proud of. Before I forget, Bart Lee is back here. Bart Lee is our Counsel Emeritus, and is always here to advise us on legal problems with his best retired advice that he could give us. He is our archivist, he is our librarian, he has put together a staff for the library, and he recognizes he will be recognizing the fellows in preservation and history, which will be announced a little bit later. Bart does an awful lot for us. That was a tough library to organize. Kenneth Colby is right here. Kenneth, I've discovered, is the man for detail work. He does a great job of detailed painting. He's worked on our stairs, he's worked on walls and trim and woodwork and done lots and lots of good, fine detail work for us. And you always got to have a guy like this to do that detail work. Mike Tanaka is here every couple of weeks. He likes to take care of the yard for us, gets all those leaves swept up, helps us in the shop, helps us wherever we need help, and we're pleased to have Mike with us. At the next table, there is Seth Arp. Again, like Denny, he's one of those people that does everything. Seth is the main person responsible for restoring the radios that we sell on the outside. If you look back there on that scaffolding, there's a ton of radios that were ready to go to the Alameda Point Antiques Fair that just got rained out. But Seth does everything. So they'll be good for our next show. But Seth does everything for us. It's too bad he's local because that means we count on him for a lot of stuff. Andy Welburn is back there. Andy is right now he's been working on digitizing a lot of the audio that we have. We've been acquiring tapes and stuff for years and years, and Andy has been digitizing them for us. Andy is also working on the display, the video mural display, which you'll see in the back room there in the Hall of Fame, which is the 3 65-inch screens. And right now they're running separately, but at some point they will mesh together and have one big video display of all of our Hall of Fame people. And Andy does this kind of technical stuff, and it's good to have him. Raj, next to him, don't make me say your last name. Can you say it for us?
No, I can't.
No, you can't. Raj is, works in our shop, and Raj is one of those guys that's one of those individuals that can basically fix anything. He gets into the radios, he gets into the test equipment, and is a good repairman. Next to him is Dave Harris. And Dave Harris, who was our volunteer of the year, works in the library and works particularly in the hand radio department of the library. And does a great job for us. He's been here with us for years and years. Quiet man, but a hard worker. Thank you, Dave. Next going down the tables there is Judy Girardi, who is Chris's mother, and she is an assistant archivist who works in the library for us. Getting back there, David Dia is a volunteer that comes every couple of weeks or a few weeks and helps us out with whatever we need. He's been trimming trees for us and doing whatever we need to do. One of our newer volunteers is Peter Scalise, sitting right next to him, and Peter is just a maniac. He comes in here, he lays floors, he was mainly responsible for the new flooring in the compact storage area downstairs, and a lot of the flooring he's done, and he's done painting and other stuff. He just works really hard. Len Shapiro is back there, and Len runs our Bay Area Radio Hall of Fame and Bay Area Radio Museum, and he keeps the ball rolling there and making sure that all that stuff runs well. Arden Allen is in the back there. Arden is in the shop every week, and he is one of our constant repairmen also. Arden can fix anything. Who am I forgetting who hasn't been recognized? There are many other people who, oh wait,
Jaime.
Wait.
Jaime.
Here's Ben Cosmos. Ben! Betty has been downstairs working on the food. She is one of our fine volunteers who's here every Saturday. She brings us cookies. She makes sure we're taken care of. She keeps a very clean kitchen. And we're very proud of that. And also with her, who we're not seeing right now, is Judy Mears and Cynthia Edwards, who also are fine volunteers and who help out. By the way, Denny and Keith, who's not here now, and Cynthia are also part of our lunch crew, because every Saturday we do lunch here. We have a lunch crew that makes lunch. Why? Oh, I can't. He's hiding. That's why I don't see him. Hello, Philip. Philip Monego is back there. I'm sorry, Philip. He is one of our directors. He is one of our main supporters and donors, and he and his assistant Carlos do a wonderful job of restoring the wooden sets that we have. He is constantly donating stuff to us that we sell, and Philip also runs our eBay operation and has been very, very successful at bringing in funds for things that we can't sell locally. So thank you, Philip. I'm sorry I missed you back there.
A donation of the container.
And the donation of 2 containers for us that are helping our storage needs, you know. Sometimes I overlook him and I take him for granted, but we shouldn't. He's a fine, fine asset to the organization. So thank you to all the volunteers.
Steve Giraventa? Steve Giraventa?
I thank Steve Giraventa. He was first or second. So let's give a hand to all of you. Applaud yourselves. You all do a fine job, fine work, and the last thing I'm going to ask for is money. We haven't had a fund drive here in a while, and we had a great fund drive that gave us all the money to do the big project downstairs. And that was such a big project and so costly, but it was well worth it. With all this rain, we have not had a drop of moisture inside this building anywhere. Wow. So we did the right thing, but because of that, we spent a little too much. We need to recoup money for the Hall of Fame. We were asking for $30,000. As of now, John has donated $5,000, and Betty has donated $1,000, and Shinn has donated $5,000. So our costs are, and Cynthia donated $1,000. So our costs, you know, our goal is coming down, but we still need this other $19,000 to repay the pot. And anything you donate, you have to remember, is tax deductible, and everything you donate goes here. It's not paying anybody's salaries. It all goes into this building and into our operation. So that's what I've got to say. Does anybody on the board or anybody else here have any questions or anything to say? Scott.
I want to say, speaking of recognition to people, Steve Kushman does an astonishing amount of work.
Yeah.
He does a lot of work on this building. He's a very good detail and finished carpenter. He does beautiful stuff. So he puts a lot of effort in here and just without being fussy about what it is he needs to do. So thank you, Steve.
It's my pleasure to do this because it's all for a good cause. It's all trying to preserve this history that's going away, and trying to encourage youth and to encourage younger people and to remind them where their cell phones came from and why it's important to know this history. And we're so fortunate to have the place that we can do this. So many of these organizations don't have a place, and we are so fortunate to have our own building. So, any other questions? Any comments? Yes, Philip?
I think just sharing the fact that the board has been focusing recently a lot on new volunteers, the volunteers that we haven't recognized, but new volunteers coming in, and the recognition that we need new volunteers to join us. We need more leadership, we need more discipline if we're gonna bring ourselves forward to opening up to the public. Any of you that know of people that may have an interest, that may have some time to share, we can certainly take advantage of that, and we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we're looking for a couple of, I'll have it out in an email, but right now, we're looking for a couple of positions to fill. And right now, these positions are being, the work that these positions require are just been doing, you know, piecemeal as people can do them. I do some of them, some of the other board members do some of them. But we really need a facilities manager. Where John is our engineer, we need a facilities manager, somebody who oversees everything that's happening with the building and the grounds. If you need to hang something on the wall, you talk to him. If we need something built here, you talk to that person. That person would be responsible for, you know, making sure our cleaning people came. And that we have the supplies that we need. There are so many details that we need to really catch up on, and only a facilities manager could handle this. And they would work with John and handle those things that need to be handled with the building, so some of us don't have to do it. The other thing we would like to have is we have thousands of radios here in our collection, and we need a collections manager. We need a person where we could ask, say, Mike, what about this radio? What about this radio? What is its status? Is this a keeper? Is this a seller? What work does this radio need? What can you tell me about this radio? It's a lot of work, it's a lot of organization, it's a database to create, but we need somebody who really wants to be responsible for our collection, and it's a big responsibility. But I'm sure there's somebody in our organization who has the skills needed to do these two jobs. So think about it, and think how you can help us, and even if you can't, think about somebody that you know that can help us. I don't have a lot more. You're probably tired of hearing me. I'm now going to turn it over to Bart. Do you have something to say, Denny? Oh, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bart Lee, our archivist, who is now going to present the awards for our fellowships.
Thank you, Steve. In honor of the occasion, I wore one of my lawyer's ties, but I want to make it perfectly clear, I am not a lawyer and I do not give legal advice. If you want practical advice, I'll burn your ears off. Anyway, I'm getting hungry, so I'm going to do this kind of quickly. We've had a fellowship program for almost 10 years. I've been hanging around since about 1988, 1989. We have fellows in history who've done significant historical work, usually by publication, and fellows in preservation, some of which you see around you in this building. There are 5 new fellows in preservation. They're selected by the other fellows. And I'm going to do this in reverse alphabetical order because I know how that works. So, Andrew Welburn, get your certificate. Come up later. Andrew Welburn. We have a friend and a member, Craig Pitcher, who is a bit, who is a Spark era collector and who has said he will leave his collection to us and has done a marvelous job in collecting Spark era equipment and in running the Spark reflector for those of us who have that sort of, bizarre interest. So he also, Craig Pitcher, W6ADV, has been honored as a fellow. Now, we have 2 fellowships that are kind of related here. You have heard about our library, and I hope you come down and spend some time in it, read some books, look at some magazines. But both Dave Harris and Hill Hampton have worked since the good old days of KRE on trying to tame the library and manage the library. And Dave Harris, as you know, has worked on the amateur radio side of things and done a very, very wonderful job keeping things organized and getting them up on the shelves so we can find them and that sort of thing. And Hill has worked on the other radio side of things, particularly in organizing the magazines that we inherited and have otherwise put together, as well as our books. So we have fellowships for both Hill Hampton and Dave Harris here. And then, recently we got the archives of KCBS relating to the Kennedy assassination and also the Nixon impeachment. The more things change, the more they stay the same, I suppose. So, but that was as a result of the work of Stan Bunger in preserving these as he got them from Ken Ackerman. And Stan has also been very helpful to us in bringing us KCBS archives. And as you know, the original radio station, San Jose Calling, is the direct ancestor of KCBS here. So we go back 110 years in that regard. So we have a fellowship for Stan Bunger as well. And with that, I will leave the stage. Thank you. Where's
You want to
John
have the
Chris?
people come up and accept the awards that are here?
I'll have them for them, but it'll be kind of, pass this down to young Chris. All right, this is a birthday present, Chris. We'll go all the way to and if you ever get shot down over enemy territory, you'll want to have one.
All right.
If not, we will conclude the meeting and eat.